Have you ever noticed that pain doesn't just hurt physically? It talks, sometimes all day long. Maybe you've heard thoughts like, this is never going to get better. I can't do this. I'm getting worse. Or maybe my personal favorite, well, this is a disaster. The strange thing is that when those thoughts show up, we often treat them like real facts. We assume, I thought it, so it must be true. But what if it's not true? What if some of the thoughts that are making us feel worse, they're not really facts at all? What if they're simply interpretations? So last week we talked about the awareness wheel and how facts, thoughts, emotions, wants, intentions, and actions influence one another. So today we're going to zoom in on one specific part of that wheel, our thoughts. This could also be considered our interpretations.
Yeah, one of the things I tell people all the time is the brain is constantly trying to make sense of the world. I mean, our brains are meaning-making machines. Right? That's part of its job.
Right. And, something happens, so our brain immediately starts creating a story. So we're in a pain flare. Our story is, I cannot handle this. We have a new symptom. Well, my story is, man, this is just going to keep getting worse and worse. I'm just going to keep having more and more symptoms. So our minds are constantly trying to answer the question, what does this fact mean? But unfortunately, chronic pain often trains our brain to become very good at creating scary stories.
Yeah, well, I guess the brain's trying to protect us. It's looking for danger, right? That's one of its big jobs.
That's right.
So it's busy looking for threats. It's looking for things that might require action, right?
That's right. Now, the problem is, as you know, that sometimes those protective stories, they're not really helping us. Yeah. So this might sound confusing or even trivial, but a thought is not a fact. It's an interpretation of a fact.
Ooh, can you say that again? I know we talked a little bit about it last video, but this is pretty important. So say that again.
That's right. A thought is actually not a fact. It's an interpretation of a fact.
An interpretation of a fact. Okay.
So for years, I thought things like, I'm getting worse. I'll never get my life back. Or, I can't handle this. Those thoughts felt very true. But feeling true and being true are not always the same thing, especially with pain.
That's the truth.
So the thought, I'll never get better, well, that's a prediction. It's not a fact.
Okay. Feels like a fact, but you're saying it's a prediction because it's in the future. Okay.
Yeah. And the thought, we might say, well, nothing's helping me. Well, that might be an exaggeration, not a fact. And, that's important because this goes back to our conversation about the silver bullet.
Okay.
Because we think that something isn't helping, but that often is because we're looking for that instant fix. We're looking for all the pain to be gone, but maybe over time things are calming down our nervous system.
I guess that's how healing works, right? If I've got some antibiotics, I'm going to take them for 10 days? My symptoms might not go away till day 3, right?
Yeah.
Or if I had some kind of surgery and I'm recovering, I'm not feeling better for maybe weeks.
Right. So our thought is not always accurate, right?
Okay.
So another one is, I can't handle this. Well, that's usually fear talking, not a fact. Because I think you have said before that the number of difficult days that we have made it through.
This is a great meme. Yeah, it's great message, isn't it?
Now, at this point, some people might be thinking, okay, Debbie, maybe my thoughts are not facts, but does that really matter? Because thoughts don't just stay in our heads. They influence our emotions, our nervous system, right? our behaviors even, and ultimately our pain experience. So let's go back to the awareness wheel. Okay, so we talked about this. The fact might be that my back is hurting today. Okay, so my thought or interpretation is, oh, maybe something's terribly wrong here. Then the next step would be, what emotion do I have? Well, probably fear. The next one, what do I want? Well, I'd like to have some safety.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, then what action do I take? Well, I might not take any. I might avoid movement, cancel my plans, and stay in bed.
Which I guess is an action.
That's right.
It's prompted by what you want, what your intention is.
That's right.
Which goes all the way back to that thought.
That's right. So now we've activated an entire chain reaction, haven't we? The original pain might not have changed, but wow, the experience of pain, it really has.
Ooh, and I guess this is one reason why pain researchers, they spend so much time studying thoughts.
That's right.
If you think about it, thoughts influence how much danger the brain perceives.
Absolutely.
And when our brains, that short-term thinking, looking out for danger brain, perceives some danger, it's more likely to keep protection turned on.
Absolutely, Jim. And this doesn't mean we're causing our pain.
Right.
It means that our thoughts can sometimes turn the volume up or help turn the volume down.
And we've got control there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, I found. It was just pretty amazing for me as I learned this. So one of the most common thought patterns that I see in chronic pain clients, and definitely in my own story, is something called catastrophizing.
Catastrophizing.
Yeah, so it's a big word, but the idea is simple. Catastrophizing happens when our brains take a difficult situation and immediately jump to the worst possible conclusion.
Kind of like horribilizing also is another word
That's
I like
right.
to use.
Yeah, I've heard that one too. Yeah. So, for example, if the fact is that my pain feels worse today, well, my brain immediately interprets that as I'm getting worse.
Ooh, okay.
Maybe then the next thought is, nothing's helping. I'll never get better. And then my future is ruined. I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, you are definitely catastrophizing now.
Yeah. So, what happened is the brain created an entire story based on one fact.
And a whole bunch of interpretations.
Yeah. And I was very good at this.
But you're not alone, right? Most of us human beings, we're amazingly talented, right? We're like, we can write an entire disaster movie right there in our head.
That's true. And unfortunately, our nervous systems often respond to those stories as though they're real.
Sure they do.
Yeah. So our fear grows, our stress grows, our tension grows, and very often pain grows. So another tool that helped me a lot is one simple word, three-letter word, yet.
Yet.
So for years, I would think, I can't do that. And my brain would stop there, of course, right? Period, end of story, I can't do that. But what happens if we add one word? I can't do that yet.
Ooh.
Now suddenly there's possibility, there's potential for growth, hope, room for change. And I tell you what, my clients have really loved this word.
And it's such a tiny word, right?
Right.
But some tiny words, kind of like profound baby steps, they can completely change the direction of a story.
That's right. And sometimes that's all we need, a slightly better story.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slightly less scary, slightly anything.
And here's another lesson I learned. You don't have to fight every thought. Sometimes people hear this conversation and they think, okay, now I need to monitor every thought I have. Okay. No, thank you.
No, that sounds overwhelming.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So instead, we can notice our thoughts without immediately believing them. So the thought shows up and I notice it. I acknowledge it. But then I ask, is this thought helping me? Not, is it positive? Not, can I make this thought disappear? Just, is it helping me? And that's really a different relationship with our thoughts, right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay, so just a little bit of curiosity,
Yeah.
creating a little bit of space.
And one of the simplest tools I've ever learned to kind of help with that is if my thought is not helpful, is what I call the good friend exercise. And it's if a thought isn't helping me, I might ask, okay, what would I say to a good friend? So let's imagine your friend is struggling. Would you tell him, you're hopeless? You're never going to get better. You know, nothing's ever really going to help you.
I think I'd get a new good friend.
That's right. No, you'd probably say something much more encouraging, right? More
I hope so.
compassionate, more realistic, right?
Yeah, like maybe you're going to make it, right?
Yeah.
I've seen progress in you over time.
Yeah.
And that's really the goal, right? Not faking positivity, but balanced thinking.
Yes. Yeah. So we're not trying to replace every negative thought with a positive thought. We're just trying to replace unhelpful thoughts with more accurate ones.
Less horribilizing, less catastrophizing. And
That's
more words like yet at the end of a sentence.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So looking back, I think many of the hardest years of my pain journey weren't just about physical pain.
No, and it was 21 plus years of unmanaged chronic pain.
It was a long time.
It was a long,
Yeah.
difficult time.
So there were a lot of stories I was telling myself, right? It had to do with fear. It had to do with predictions of how things are not going to get better, catastrophizing, really hopelessness, right?
Yeah.
So once I started questioning those stories, questioning my interpretations of things, I really started doing well again. I started having some hope, not because everything was changing and all my pain was going away, but because I wasn't allowing every fearful thought to drive the bus in my brain.
Yeah, you were like saying, disaster story, we're not going to write you right now.
That's right.
We're going to try a little more positive story.
So if there's one thing I hope you remember from today's conversation, it's this. Thoughts are powerful, but thoughts are not automatically true. So the next time a difficult thought appears, try to pause, take a breath, and get curious and ask yourself, is this a fact? Is this thought helping me? Would I say this to a good friend? Those three questions help change the direction of my thoughts and very often my pain levels. And they may help change yours too.
Yeah, because awareness creates options.
That's right. And options create hope. So if this conversation resonated with you, we'd love for you to subscribe and please share this with someone who also might need encouragement today. And as always, remember, your pain is real, there is hope, and our goal is for you to have your pain in the rear view.